You're in the 06010. Fantasy Focus.
What's good, friends? Welcome into Fantasy Focus Football, presented by Little Caesars alongside the Stephania Bell and Field Yates. My name is Daniel Dopp here to recap the majority of Week 7. Mind you, we have 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. Hope you guys are ready to stay up until 1 a.m. Eastern time here on Monday.
Yeah, somebody's team is playing tonight.
Oh, it is. Thankfully, it is the early game.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that.
Wait, is this Monday Night Football game number 2 for the Lions? You usually wear a jersey when the Lions are playing that day, and I feel like you've worn a jersey a lot this year.
Yeah, we actually have a lot of primetime games this year. This is one of those things that's really nice. I think we only have like 4 or 5 1 p.m. games this year. That means that's a lot of primetime games. So
I don't know. I'm old. I like the 1 p.m.
I do too. I love it because I don't have to worry about staying up late. We'll dive into Monday Night Football here in just a little bit. Obviously, a lot of big takeaways. We're going to dive into our Monday morning blitz, winners, losers. What the heck happened to a bunch of these guys?
Let's go.
As well as a bunch of takeaways and some injuries to dive into. But let's kick things off with our Monday morning blitz. Field, we've each got a winner, a loser, and a what the heck kind of player from this week. Why don't you kick us off with your winner from Week 7?
So, Daniel, some of us, maybe, I don't know, like around dinner time last night, said, I'm going to turn the Giants-Broncos game off, right?
Ooh.
End of the third quarter, it's 19-0 Giants. Bo Nix is on his way to yet another dud. It turns out not so fast, my friends, to quote Lee Corso, as Bo Nix had arguably the single greatest quarter for fantasy football purposes of this century.
Yes.
Like since the start of 2000 is Bo Nix in the fourth quarter alone. The fourth quarter by itself. 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yep.
If you only started Bo Nix for the fourth quarter of this week, you would have gotten over 33 fantasy points. He was an absolute menace in the fourth quarter as the Broncos hung 33 points on the Giants in this game and came back for a miracle 33-32 win, which concluded with a Will Lutz field goal as time expired.
Yeah.
Bo has been very up and down throughout this season.
Yeah.
If anything is more of a microcosm of Bo Nix this season than what happened yesterday, please let me know. As far as what it means going forward for Bo Nix, there's a part of me that's like he just had 40-plus fantasy points, the most for any quarterback in a game this year. Obviously, this is the start of good things for Bo. I've watched Bo enough this year to understand that 40-plus fantasy points could be followed up by like 15 this upcoming week, whoever the Denver Broncos play against. That being said, this was a miracle and probably spun a lot of fantasy weeks. So shout out to Bo Nix, my winner of Week 7.
A lot of people's winners of Week 7 if they started Bo Nix this week. So yeah, big one there. Stephania, who's your winner here in Week 7?
You'll never guess.
Let me go. I got it. I'm going to go with Tedero McMillan. No,
You're so close.
Okay.
Getting
Chris
warm.
Olave. Yeah.
Oh,
no.
you're getting warmer.
Okay.
Sounds like.
Got it.
Sounds like.
I'm gonna go with Aaron Rodgers.
It's CMC, Stephania. He's been so good.
Here's the thing. True story. When we, as you know, a little behind the scenes, so we get ready for Monday and we're putting into our rundowns things we're going to choose for winners, losers, and what the heck happened. And I thought, Jonathan Taylor is my winner. I mean, I love this guy. I've talked about him before.
Yep.
He did something that no one's ever done in Colts franchise history as a running back with 3 touchdowns in the same day. And then he got passed by Christian McCaffrey, who scored more fantasy points, 39.1 fantasy points in the night game last night. If you didn't see it, he is, listen, all the 49ers contributed their part, but he essentially carried the team down the field for just about every play. He touched the ball 31 times. 31 times. And normally you'd be like, hey, Kyle, maybe take it easy. Not last night. They needed inspiration. 24 for 129 and 2 touchdowns. Those were just the rushing numbers, mind you. 7 for 72 receiving. And I don't know if you saw the broadcast, but NBC decided they'd start this like running backs day, because you know how they have National Tight Ends Day, which George Kittle, of course, of the 49ers was the one who started that. So they were like, we're going to do running backs. And that was before like everything had happened, but it was so ridiculous. The offensive line, was incredible. Trent Williams talked about how you love to block for a running back like Christian McCaffrey, who does everything. And what was really cute was Bijan Robinson, who also had a good game, they talked about how he wanted to train with Christian McCaffrey and he was on of him. They shared jerseys at the end because I know from talking to Bijan a year ago, he wants to be just like Christian McCaffrey. And I think he saw his idol do everything that he aspires to do last night. It was an unbelievable performance. And by the way, guess who is the number one player overall on this season?
That would be Christian McCaffrey.
That would be Christian McCaffrey, number one fantasy player. If you were a little bit on the fence about drafting him, but decided to take a chance, like, I know there's a health history here, and you took note of the fact that every time he's had a bad season because of injury, he's bounced back incredibly. I know we're not even quite halfway through the season, so, there's still opportunity, but what he has produced for you in fantasy so far, I think, has been well worth it.
100%.
So we are now, after tonight, we'll be halfway through the fantasy football regular season, and there's nobody that can catch Christian McCaffrey in this category. Full stop, period, no discussion. He's the most valuable player in the first half of fantasy football regular season.
You put out a tweet, was it earlier this morning that you did?
This morning, yeah. He has been a top 8 running back every week.
And that was the thing. Someone brought up to you, I saw in the mentions, they were like, but what about Jonathan Taylor? Does he not exist? Well, Jonathan Taylor has also been really good, but he's 2 weeks outside the top 20.
Yeah,
CMC
he's amazing.
Been top 10 every single week.
Jonathan Taylor is probably on the podium, right?
Of course.
It's CMC
Oh, he's
and
totally.
Puka
And I think they
Jonathan
would
Taylor.
also acknowledge each other's work because they're those kind of guys.
Sure.
Christian McCaffrey, first running back to record at least 20 fantasy points in each of the first 7 games of a season since 2018.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's off the charts good. It's a revelation. The Niners are incredible. 5-2. Shout out to you guys. That was an amazing performance. We'll talk about George Kittle and the duds later because he apparently didn't return the lineup. Who's your winner, Dan?
Oh, no. He blocked for Christian McCaffrey, so
that's what it
we're
was.
not mad at George
thank
Kittle.
you so
but
much for
okay, I'm
blocking
sorry.
for us.
I know. Sorry,
Coming up on
fantasy
NFL Live,
managers.
Stephania can break down George
I'm gonna
Kittle's
tell
great
you,
blocking.
I know, but just so you know, he'll do his part.
He will.
It'll come.
Just not week 7. My winner this week, unfortunately, it's time for me to wave the white flag. Can I
Why do
pretend
you
this
say
is a flag?
unfortunately when you're talking about a winner?
Because I have to say that I need to wave the white flag that Patrick Mahomes is just that good this year. We had 2 straight seasons in which Patrick Mahomes averaged under 17.5 fantasy points per game. Not like a couple of duds here and there and just maybe didn't totally look like himself. Like just a completely different quarterback in fantasy football.
Yeah.
Coming into this season, however, it has been completely different. The reason why he is a winner this week is because he got his guy Rashee Rice back. Rice looked absolutely fantastic. 10 targets, 7 receptions, 42 yards, and 2 touchdowns in 3 quarters of play.
Yeah, by the way.
They didn't even play the fourth quarter.
Not even the fourth quarter. It's amazing. So Mahomes is what for the week right now amongst quarterbacks?
He's quarterback 1. He has
not quarter. Bo Nix.
Sorry, Bo Nix is quarterback 1. He is quarterback 2 right now on the week. He has 26 or more fantasy points in 4 straight games.
He's ridiculous.
And he has 26 or more fantasy points in 5 of 7 with only 1 game under 22 points.
Yeah,
so he has been unbelievable. He's back and better with Rashee Rice in this offense. So he's been awesome. He is a winner here for me this week.
Yeah. And Rashee Rice, they can say whatever they
he's
want.
A winner as
Everybody
well.
going to eat, but 10 targets, including 2 receiving touchdowns, a receiving touchdown on the opening drive. It's going to be the Rashee Rice show. My loser of the week, and I'm going to name one player, but it's on behalf of the entire team. Ashton Genty, who I feel terrible for the kid. 6 carries for 21 yards for Ashton Genty. He had 1 catch. How about this? The Chiefs yesterday. The Chiefs had 30 first downs.
Yep.
The Raiders ran 30 plays.
Did they have any first downs?
They had 3.
Oh, okay.
I cannot get over how uninspired and pathetic of an effort that was.
And then
from
on
the
top of
Raiders
it, Max Crosby gets hurt. Like, it's just a disaster. I'll one-up you. I had as my loser everyone who rostered a Raider on their fantasy teams.
Seriously.
Because it was bad enough to go around because in addition to Ashton Genty's 4.4 fantasy points, Michael Mayer, who I thought was going to have a good day because he had a good day last week, stepping up for the injured Brock Bowers, 2 fantasy points.
Yeah, we thought, especially because no Jacoby Myers, we thought maybe Michael Mayer would be something. It didn't happen.
Again, 30 offensive plays. It's like historically low for a single game. It's just an abomination performance. All the vibes that came into the season with the Raiders totally out the window. They go into their bye this week. It might be the best thing because at least for those of us in fantasy, we don't have to be subjected to the potential disappointment of not having Brock Bowers or starting Ashton Genty with a down day. I don't think Genty is the problem. I'm going to go out here on a limb and say this isn't the problem here. But yes, they are a gigantic loser. Geno Smith has been totally cooked so far this season. Yeah. I have no idea where this franchise goes, but Stephania and I are aligned. Losers right there for the Raiders.
That's terrible. My loser this week, and I think it's pretty obvious, unfortunately. But it's Justin Fields.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is unfortunate. I like Justin Fields. I wanted to see him succeed, in part because I love Aaron Glenn. Do you think Aaron Glenn goes 0-17 this season?
I am going to not allow my brain to think that.
Yeah,
All right.
I like
really
Aaron
don't
Glenn,
want
too.
You're just a Lions fan who wants to see it happen to somebody else.
No, I did. I got to see it happen to someone else. The Cleveland Browns went 0-16, so I don't have to worry about
True.
it.
Yeah.
But
no one's gone 0-17.
you're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Justin Fields was objectively awful, though.
Awful. Terrible.
He ended up getting benched.
Yeah.
Like, he got hurt at first. He got banged up, came out of the game, then he went back into the game, then ended up getting benched. He was 6 for 12 for 46 passing yards, and he had 4 carries for 22 yards. Aaron Glenn doesn't have a choice but to reassess the quarterback position moving forward. Yeah. Right now, if you told me that Tyrod Taylor is the better quarterback for this team, just to be able to put like positive plays on the field.
Yeah, it's not close.
It's not even close. So for me, unfortunately, when you talk about players with a wide range of outcomes, Justin Fields is the perfect guy to think of because he'll give you that 4-point game that is just gonna bury you. But he also has that 32-point upside in him because of his rushing ability. Yeah. Unfortunately, the back and forth here, I just don't think you can trust him. He's got to be benched. I'm not starting him on any of the squads that I have Justin Fields.
And the upside might just be yanked because it seems like there's a real chance that Justin Fields does not start for the Jets this upcoming weekend against the Bengals. If you have Justin Fields and he does get benched, your hope is probably this. Tyrod Taylor comes into the game. He starts against Cincinnati. The Jets lose. They go into their bye week. They come out of their bye week. They keep losing. And it's 0-12. And it's like, all right, fine. Put Justin back in almost begrudgingly because clearly the backup to him is not better. Justin's younger.
The veteran's not the future.
Money.
Yeah.
Bottom line is it's a disaster. Those who were faders of Justin Fields in the preseason, present company included, this was one of the great scares. He's just not good enough. He's just not, like, say whatever you want about Justin Fields. This is not a personal thing. He's not a good NFL quarterback, period, full stop. He is not going to be a starting quarterback for anybody next year unless they completely strike out. Justin Fields is just a backup at best.
I agree with you, and it's crazy the way that you'll have games where he scores single-digit fantasy points and then absolutely carries your team to a win because of his legs. We got a question actually right now.
Behind us.
Yeah, right now it does feel like they will be. Let's look into our YouTube chat because we got a question here on Justin Fields. This one comes from Yagason. It says, should I trade Justin Fields for a Crunchwrap Supreme, guys?
Yes.
I would say yes. I'm good with that. Anything that you can get for Justin Fields right now, he is unfortunately a major loser here in Week 7 and probably for the rest of the season.
Trivia, who became the first tight end to go over 150 yards receiving in a game this season?
Was it Rondé Gadsden?
Rondé Gadsden the second. What the heck was that? My what the heck player of the week. Now, Gadsden's had a couple of good games this season. And with Justin Herbert, playing in this offense where they're throwing the football a lot, their 2 starting running backs are either done for the season or currently on IR in the case of Amari and Hampton.
Yep.
And C, or number 3, they're getting boat raced by the Colts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, garbage time started in like the second quarter yesterday for the Chargers, who at one point it seemed like in the fourth quarter might have made it a 1-score game. Nope. Rondé Gadsden the second had a monster night. Over 150 receiving yards for Gadsden. He came to Syracuse as a wide receiver, played there for a couple of seasons. He's the son of course, Rondé Gadsden, the former NFL player as well. He's got some good bloodlines. He became a tight end late in his college career, but he is like he's like Darren Waller. That was the comp I kept thinking of during the pre-draft process. Super athletic, not sure who he is going to handle blocking. He was amazing yesterday. As far as what it means going forward, I'd love to rubber stamp him as a starting tight end going into Week 8. Don't know if I'm quite there as of yet because they play Thursday night against the Vikings. Do you think the Vikings offense is as potent as the Colts offense was yesterday?
Nope.
Maybe not. He probably needs game script to work in his favor. But if you're in a desperate spot at tight end, absolutely is on the radar.
I am very grateful because one thing that we have been asking for this year is please just give us one Chargers pass catcher that we can count on. I mean, we don't have anyone in this offense. Oh, wait, now we've got 4 of them we've got to figure out.
Apparently, 7 for 164 and a touchdown was the line yesterday for Gadsden. So what the heck was that?
What the heck?
Every time I turned on the TV, I was like, Gadsden, All right. Well, my what the heck will stick with the tight ends. Only mine was nobody wants fantasy points coming off the board. And your doppelganger, TJ Hawkinson, was really angry about what happened. My what the heck was it or was it not a catch? We're still in the land of...
I don't think it's a catch.
Yeah.
You don't think so?
No, I mean,
I thought it was close.
Trust me. I needed that to be a catch in some pretty serious ways.
It was close, and it was. Let's put it this way: it was close enough. If you didn't see it, T.J. Hawkinson made a catch he thought was a catch. It ended up getting reviewed by replay and overturned. It was enough of a question mark that you had to have a pool reporter go to talk to the referees about what they saw that made it not a catch. But that meant that fantasy points came off the board. At least he was in the double digits with 10.3. But you would have liked to have another.
I'm with you on that, unfortunately. My what the heck player this week was Tetero McMillan. How about this guy? 11 targets, 9 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown. Oh, wait. No, that was Xavier Legette. That was Xavier Legette. Also, by the way, shout out to Mike Clay.
Yeah.
Mike said this, where he was like, right now, when you're looking at this Jet squad, anyone that is not facing Sauce Gardner, the number 2 wide receiver, has really benefited in a number of matchups. Looks like that turned out again this week because Xavier Legette is not a guy that was on any of our bingo cards to be able to be a fantasy relevant wide receiver here in week 7.
I'm totally with you. By the way, Mike nailed this one. We had a sense this could be coming with T-Mac. Sauce Gardner has been that good. He got banged up yesterday, did Sauce, but the Jets play the Bengals next week. So we'll talk about whether Jamar Chase and T. Higgins could, or one of the two, could benefit. In that case, of course, it would be T. Higgins.
And we are going to dive into a bunch of injuries, Stephania. One of the guys that got hurt was actually Tetero McMillan's quarterback. We're going to have to figure out what we're doing in Carolina. So I know we got a couple of injuries to talk about. Let's start at the quarterback spot. We got a couple of QBs to dive into.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Bryce Young. He left the game with an ankle injury, and so a lot of these we're going to get more information on Tuesday. So I'm just going to run through the ones that jumped to the top of mind for you to keep an eye on. Okay. Bryce Young, obviously, Andy Dalton entered the game. We don't know the severity of it yet. More to come.
Bills next week.
They play the Bills.
They play the Bills next week.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, who wants to come back for that if you're him? Brian Thomas Jr. hurt his shoulder late versus the Rams. There were a lot of other things hurting for Brian Thomas Jr., including his performance. So stay tuned on that. Darren Waller had a pec injury and did not return. Don't know if you noticed. Don't know if the Dolphins noticed. That was a disaster. But the one that everybody will be paying attention to is Jayden Daniels, who injured his right hamstring in the third quarter. He's having an MRI on Monday, according to Coach Dan Quinn. They next play on Monday night, so they do have an extra day. This is opposite from the knee that he injured earlier this season that caused him to miss 2 games, opposite side. But definitely a little concerning when your player's reaching for his hamstring. Something kind of weird in the way he went down. He was kind of grabbing up high on the hamstring. So stay tuned for that. Not on really my list, but kind of watch. Michael Penix looked to be limping a little bit last night, got hit a bunch late. And, he's had many surgeries, including a couple on his knee, and it looked like he was favoring that knee a little bit at the end. So keep an eye out there. And obviously more will emerge, but those are kind of the top of mind injuries to be paying attention to this week.
So Jayden is uncertain. They have no Terry McLaurin right now, Deebo Samuel right now. Who do they play next week? Oh, the Chiefs on Monday Night Football.
Oh, great. That's
shouldn't
awesome.
Be an issue at all.
That's not a problem.
Should be no problem. Walk in the park.
By the way, we're going to dive into it more tomorrow, but not only do we have all these injuries, but this week, by Mageddon week, it's going to be a lot of guys.
Didn't watch fantasy.
Yes, if you did not watch FF Now,
missed out on an unbelievable segment for the ages.
Yes. Yeah. All right, let's dive into a couple of big takeaways. Stephania, obviously, will dive into more injury news tomorrow and throughout the week as we get more updates, but thank you for that. Big takeaway from the week. I'm going to start, guys.
Hit us.
Quinshon Judkins dominates, but concerns are still in sight.
Oh, wow.
I feel like when I look at Quinshon Judkins. 25 carries for 84 yards and 3 touchdowns. We talked about how he was going to smash against the Dolphins.
Shockiest matchup of all time.
Did you think he was getting 3 touchdowns?
I didn't think he was getting 3 touchdowns.
That was amazing.
Yeah. I will say the efficiency, he had 1 carry for 46 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then they kind of got bottled up. I want to put part of that to, it was rainy. It was windy. It was kind of a crappy game back and forth. Like the Browns weren't really trying to do a lot of stuff. It was just like, let's just give the ball to Quinshon Judkins because not a lot else is working here. And it worked out for him. The only concern for me when I look at Quinshon Judkins is it's just another week with no pass catching. And it solidifies what we have been talking about where Quinshon Judkins, if he doesn't find the end zone, is very Derrick Henry or David Montgomery-esque. I don't catch passes, means I need to be able to do a lot on the ground and find ways to get points in the end zone. So Quinshon Judkins smashed this week, 26.4 fantasy points. He was the clear number 1 running back, but he doesn't play on third down. He played 1 third down, and it was a 3rd and 1, and he got a 1-yard carry for a first down. Other than that, it's always either Dylan Sampson or Jerome Ford. So it's a great day. but some of the concerns are going to persist. We know that about him.
Fair enough. By the way, they play the Patriots, Red Hot Patriots, in New England this upcoming Sunday. The Patriots have been one of the best run defenses in the NFL. Stephania mentioned that Brian Thomas Jr. left the game. It was late. It was a very awkward injury, by the way. He kind of got it almost reminded me of when you get hit in the funny bone and you're like, how did that hurt so much? Because it wasn't aggressive contact, and he immediately grabbed for that shoulder. They go into the bye this week, so this won't matter for week 8. We'll keep an eye on that for week 9. But his partner in crime, Travis Hunter, became a full-time wide receiver.
Yes, he did.
As a matter of fact,
87% on offense or something like that.
So first half, he didn't play at all in defense. They played him some in defense on the second half. They were down. They were trying to make a comeback there, some garbage time as well. He became a full-time wide receiver, and it unlocked the version of Travis Hunter that we discussed coming into the year, which was, hey, if this guy plays 85% of the snaps, he could end up as a top 15 wide receiver. He had 8 catches. He went over 100 yards. He had a touchdown. Get it. Total garbage time. I also get it. We talked about him as the kind of guy that could be droppable as recently as last week because he wasn't playing full-time offense. I'm going to look at it like this. If you still have Travis Hunter, maybe the Jaguars are finally realizing this. They're finally understanding that it's amazing that he has the capacity to play both ways. It's special. It's rare. It's unique. He's one of a kind. Maybe to begin, especially with an offense that is totally stuck in the mud right now, let's just play him at wide receiver, and especially if Brian Thomas Jr. is going to miss some time. So Travis Hunter could be one of the biggest risers over the next 14 days in terms of fantasy value because while, again, it was garbage time, there was some special talent shown by Hunter in London. He was the only thing that the Jaguars can be proud of from Sunday.
Still rostered in 72% of leagues, so I wouldn't think a lot of people had dropped him at that point, but hopefully you still have him on your bench. Stephania, what about you? Give us a takeaway.
Rashee Rice.
Was good.
Not rusty.
Nope.
This was and the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I especially me talk about when players are coming back, they haven't been acclimated to football. They haven't been conditioned for football. He was coming off an injury, even though people were thinking about he was coming back from the suspension. We haven't seen him since he was injured last year. Lateral collateral ligament tear, which is a pretty significant injury. And we saw in the preseason he was moving well. That's all fine and good, but it wasn't football. He talked about how he went down to Florida to maintain his conditioning down there, work in the heat, kind of mimic the conditions of their training camp at St. Joe. If you know St. Joe, you know it's hot, humid, messy, and he wanted to continue to work in that, worked on a structured football schedule so he'd be active on Sundays. I mean, all of that, I think he did as much as he could to prepare for simulated football, and it showed. And they had no hesitation to go to him, but if you were wondering, is there anything on the physical side that we saw? Absolutely not. I think he's up to speed now, 100%. Right into your fantasy playoffs, potentially.
Yep. He was amazing yesterday. We'll see whether this means that there's no longer a lot of value in Xavier Worthy. Back-to-back really quiet days for Worthy. Patrick Mahomes is feasting, and yet yesterday, really only one Chiefs receiver was worth starting, that, of course, being Rashee Rice. What's next for you?
My next takeaway is that the Chicago Bears have themselves something in DeAndre Swift because he had another dominant performance. Pass catchers basically were disappointing, though, again in this one. DeAndre Swift was the highlight, 20 touches, 138 total yards, and a touchdown. He has a touchdown in 3 straight games and 4 of his last 5. I'll talk about the pass catchers in a minute, but it wasn't just DeAndre Swift, actually. Kyle Monangai got some run in this game as well.
Got a touchdown.
He did. I don't think that's I don't believe that this is going to become like a committee all of a sudden, but I do think that Kyle Monangai, it's nice to be able to see a second running back start to materialize there in Chicago. One of the things about Swift, they had a week 5 bye, and since their bye, he has over 150 yards per game in back-to-back games since their bye. Their running game has completely turned around, over 20 fantasy points in back-to-back games. The passing game has actually struggled coming out of the bye. Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, all these guys, they didn't really do a whole lot this week. It was just DeAndre Swift with what he's been doing. Mind you, they played the Saints and the Commanders, which are 2 really nice matchups for running backs. But I don't want to be like, I don't want to fault him for that.
Weekend.
And he gets the Ravens. Exactly. So this is going to be another situation where it's like, as long as you got the string of matchups, keep rolling DeAndre Swift out there with how the Bears are playing.
Yeah, and early in the season when Swift wasn't super efficient, for those that prescribe to the value of run block win rate, I know some are less convinced that the offensive line metrics matter as much, but the Bears were very strong in run block win rate. So it was kind of a matter of time before they got things going. It seems like they found the right kind of runs for DeAndre Swift as well. get him on the perimeter, some of these tosses, these pitches, ways to take advantage of his elusiveness and also the athletic offensive lineman they have available to block for him.
Totally agree.
We turned back the clock. Big Ben got turned back yesterday in London as Matthew Stafford and Davante Adams, the geriatrics, found a way to go off. Matthew Stafford had 5 passing touchdowns, under 200 passing yards, and who cares? Stafford's been on a heater this year. He now leads the
Remember
NFL
when everybody was
passing
worried about his
touchdowns.
back?
I do, yes. And what it meant for Puka Nacua, what it meant for Davante Adams.
Yep.
Adams had 3 touchdowns yesterday on 5 catches. So how about this? Matthew Stafford throws 5 passing touchdowns with under 200 passing yards. Davante Adams has 3 receiving touchdowns with only 5 catches,
That's
35
crazy.
yards. So I walked into the War Room yesterday, which is where we often watch the games, 1 o'clock, and I was talking to one of the producers on Sunday. I'm trying to figure out what show they work on. Primetime. They were working on Primetime. And he was saying, man, tough start for me today. Like I faced Davante Adams in the early slate. Yes, he had 3 receiving touchdowns, but 5 for 35 and 3 touchdowns. Like usually a 3 touchdown performance hurts more than that.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
actually like the kind of hole you could dig yourself out of. Believe the Rams go on their bye next week.
Yes.
They do. So, and with Puka Nacua obviously expected back in week 9, but they were awesome. Stafford definitely in that streaming radar, and Adams, good to see him take advantage of the game without Puka. Nobody else from the Rams really, as far as pass catchers are concerned, had much of consequence.
Do you feel like when you watched this, you recognized that they have a very specific game plan for Davante Adams? And even
Beat
when
him in the red zone?
Yes, and that's kind of it. Like he's been the red zone guy, but even when Puka's out, Davante's not going to step in and become a 15 target kind of guy like Puka is. Feels like they've got a role for him, and him and Matthew Stafford have an unbelievable connection.
They sure do, yeah.
It doesn't feel like they want to change that, but I was wondering if without Puka, would we see Davante Adams go back to being that target monster? Didn't materialize, but as long as he keeps finding the end zone, man, I'm
It's also
fine
like
with that.
where you need it. Like, I feel like with these seasoned quarterbacks, it's like I know I need somebody with good hands who's going to run a great route, and that is Davante Adams.
Yeah.
So, the efficiency was off the charts for them. Okay, on to things that are less pleasant. Can you start any Dolphin besides Devon Achane? I'll answer it for you. No. No. The Dolphins is a crumbling disaster. It makes me sad to see because the talent we know, like Jalen Waddle, we had big hopes for him this year. It's not panning out. Darren Waller, glimmer. Now, injury, whatever, the disasters, the Dolphins. But Devon Achane, despite all of that around him, still continues to produce for you in fantasy. Try not to look at what's happening with the Dolphins when
Just
you
try
set
not
your
to watch the
lineup.
games in
Just
general.
Put
Yeah.
Devon Achane in and go with it.
Totally. Yeah. Waddle was strong there for a little while. He has a chance, I think, to kind of resurrect the season here, but it's a disaster.
He's more impacted by Tua than Achane is. That's a part of it. Right?
That's what I mean.
Looking for a silver lining, they play indoors next week. I mean, weather,
Yeah.
is there any more...
A team that's more affected by weather?
I mean,
I don't
it's
think
pathetic.
so.
It's really yesterday was reprehensible effort from the Dolphins. It's not a good sign when Adam Schefter on Get Up, like 8 a.m. this morning, has to be asked, is the coach going to survive the day?
Yeah.
It's a house of cards. It's just a matter of time before they blow everything up in Miami. It's complete disaster here. But yes, completely agree, Stephania. It's Waddle at best. It's Achane and it's Waddle when things are more ideal, which is not playing in Cleveland.
With
which
bad
is a
weather.
good defense in terrible weather.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a mess.
I think it was the worst game. I think they put in the worst. I know that the Raiders looked terrible, but at least the Raiders played the Kansas City freaking Chiefs. They didn't play the Cleveland Browns. No
It's a
offense to the
disaster.
Cleveland Browns,
Yeah.
but it was.
I'm having a
Miami
hard time
looked
giving
so bad.
either team credit. But
I know,
yes,
they
in
both looked
the
really
race
poor.
of who is the suckiest. I think the Dolphins were the suckiest yesterday.
In a race of who's the best in the NFL, the Colts might be one of the few teams that are crushing.
We're not talking about them enough.
They continue to cook on literally every single level for us in fantasy football.
Unreal.
Jonathan Taylor, as we know, was unbelievable. 16 for 94 and 3 touchdowns plus 3 receptions for 38 yards, 34.2 fantasy points. Their quarterback, Daniel Jones, 288 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, only had to rush for 7 yards, normally uses his legs a little bit more, still had 22.2 fantasy points.
Yep.
Michael Pittman, 9 targets, 7 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown, 20.8 fantasy points, quietly one of the best top 20 wide receivers of the season. Tyler Warren, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 69 yards, and a touchdown, 16.9 fantasy points.
Amazing.
That doesn't even include Alec Pierce, who's a great best ball play. He's getting more involved here as well with Josh Downs being out. By the way, shout out to Josh Downs, who was in that By-Mageddon segment. That was a lot of fun.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
By the way, I think this might be the best value pound for pound fantasy roster. If anybody
agreed.
drafted on the Colts, because outside of Jonathan Taylor, who was touted as a first round draft pick, Who was thinking about Daniel Jones?
Daniel Jones was
like,
free.
He was
You got him on waivers.
He was free.
Yep.
Michael Pittman, totally undervalued compared to what we're
Super
seeing
late.
for him now. And
Tyler Warren,
who we talked about having potential, but we wondered how much he would do. You know, a lot of people to deliver the ball to.
It was the Brock Bowers
He's been
concern.
consistent.
Like not having a quarterback. We didn't know who the quarterback was going to be. Can we really trust another tight end that we didn't think had a trustworthy quarterback?
We need the best tight end prospect in this upcoming year's draft, who I would call Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon, to get drafted to the worst possible spot on.
Yes.
Like we need I don't know. We need the Raiders to draft him. Because the Raiders have Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. It's no way he can do it, right? And then it's like, oh, him and Brock Bowers are both top 5 tight ends.
I would love, here's the thing. Last 3 years, Sam Laporta crushed it as a rookie. Then Brock Bowers crushed it, Brock Bowers crushed it as a rookie. Then Tyler Warren, right now, crushing it as a rookie. Let's hope we get another 4th one in a row. I love getting all these young guys infused into our tight end position.
Jonathan Taylor, again, I mentioned it earlier, on the podium for most valuable players in all of fantasy football. Danny Dimes now has 4 out of 7 games with 22 or more fantasy points.
I'm calling him Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
You can't stop me.
Can't stop you from that. Big storyline yesterday coming into the game was Carolina gets Chuba Hubbard back after a multi-game absence.
Yes.
How do things shake out in the backfield?
Yes.
And Dave Canales coming into the games was asked, like, do you have an idea of how the backfield's going to shake out? And he made a suggestion to the effect of, we think one guy is going to play a bigger role than the other, but I'm not going to tell you who that player is. Totally within his reasonable rights, by the way. Chuba Hubbard started the game yesterday. Chuba Hubbard was on the field to begin the game for Carolina.
Yep.
Chuba Hubbard played 54% of the snaps. Rico Dowdle played 46% of the snaps.
That's the opposite of what we thought. I mean, I think we all had Rico Dowdle ranked at least ahead of Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, I thought it would be more Rico than Chuba. Chuba went for 14 carries for 31 yards, which is just a shade over 2 yards per carry. He also had 2 catches on 3 targets. Rico Dowdle, who again played 46% of the snaps, so fewer than Chuba, had 17 carries for 79 yards. That's over 4.5 yards per carry. And he had 1 catch on 2 targets. So Dowdle was clearly the better and more effective player. But in some ways, the bigger takeaway is not who was better. It's the fact that they both played a lot. This is sort of like Seattle, where each of them plays enough that the other one's value gets greatly diminished. They play the Bills in a good matchup this upcoming weekend. If I am Carolina, I am trying to pound the football as best I can in this game, especially if there's no Bryce Young. That being said, if you are hoping that if you have Chuba and you're hoping, hey, he's the man, he comes back and he takes his job back, that's not happening. If you've been riding the Rico Dowdle hot hand, it wasn't awful yesterday. He got you, I think, around 9.5 fantasy points. But definitely not the kind of player he was for the 2 weeks prior when he had over 30 fantasy points in each of them.
I think it might be a little soon to totally draw a conclusion, only because you had Chuba Hubbard coming off a calf injury. And often, especially when you have someone like Rico Dowdle, you're not going to, I never thought that they were going to, even if you were of the mindset that Chuba Hubbard should get his job back, that they were going to throw him all the volume coming off a lower extremity soft tissue injury. That wouldn't be wise when you have a Rico Dowdle. So why not have some balance in there? And then you have to see how he comes out of the game. Were there any issues with that? Like, was he fine? Was it good? Was it a good start? Because if it's, that could have been the test and maybe they're going to use him more. It could have been we decide we want to keep a split so we keep the guy's legs fresh. It's hard to know that. I guess what I'm saying is it would be hard for me to say this is how it's going to be going forward. I think they have 2 talented backs. And maybe it'll be dependent on how they're doing in each game. Not necessarily the hot hand, but who they're playing, what are the better matchups.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Can Canales talk about that a little bit? Like utilizing 2 running backs, or am I thinking of a different coach? I thought there was a coach this week that specifically said, we're trying to find a way to be able to use both of our running backs, like Seattle and Detroit, and then some of these other 2 running back teams.
I don't know if he said exactly that or not. But yeah, I mean, in some ways, like what you just said, and Stephania, kind of reinforces the negative side of this in the sense that, hey, if this is just the beginning of what they got out of Chuba, and this was sort of the trial run, and if he comes out of this okay, he might play more, it's like, oh, crap. Like, the guy who is way more efficient and has been unbelievable for the past 2 weeks might just become a backup once again, which would be good for those of us that roster Chuba Hubbard, but will be not good for Rico Dowdle. And if this is one of those that's like Seattle, where it could be sort of hot hand, you never
week
know.
to week.
Then we know it becomes
that's the worst fantasy. Like you have 2, if you have no, what is that? You have 2 running backs.
You have none.
Yes.
2 running backs. You have none.
Shefty wrote this piece actually yesterday, said that Carolina has recently spent time studying both Detroit Lions and the Seattle Seahawks to figure out how they can utilize both of their running backs, which in fantasy, I would be great because I don't want Chuba Hubbard to go by the wasteland. And also, I don't want all the Rico Dowdle shares that I just picked up off the waiver wire to not like.
Funny, I always like, though, when teams say, like, yeah, we're studying how Detroit has been using their backs.
Well, yeah,
like,
of course.
Hey, I'm studying how the two best running back or the best running back combo in the league is being utilized.
I'm studying how Patrick Mahomes keeps winning Super Bowls.
But here's
year
what
after
my
year,
response
guys.
when I heard that was, study Detroit because both of them are valuable. Do not study Seattle, where they cancel each other out.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Signed every fantasy manager in the
they
land.
not like us.
Well, I have another takeaway. The Giants have found their quarterback.
Ooh.
Now, I know that's a tough, like the way that ended isn't what you're thinking, but think about everything before that fourth quarter and that last interception. To me, it's just watching it. I felt like Giants fans have hope that they feel Jackson Dart is a good fit for them. I think he gives them, like I said, he gives them hope and he gives us fantasy production because he's going to run the ball. So
great yesterday.
Yeah,
he's got this
so
moxie
I mean,
with him.
to me, like he's a good fit for the Giants. He's going to be productive in fantasy, and I think. For a couple years now, it's been like, what are they doing at quarterback? Can there be consistency? I think Jackson Dart provides hope and hope for us in fantasy.
I would agree with that.
He's a top 12 quarterback now.
Yep.
To me, he is. 28 plus fantasy points against the
Denver.
Giants. Against the Broncos, and a game in which he had 11 rushing yards. Daniel warned us about how limited the rushing production could be, and he still got you to 28.43 points. He did have a rushing touchdown. He threw 3 passing touchdowns. Crazy game.
He threw 2 passing touchdowns. The other one, it was a perfect deflection by Wan'Dale Robinson to Theo Jones.
was.
2 deflections in the end zone, actually. 2 deflected
on
touchdowns.
opposite
Crazy
sides.
game.
Yeah,
Crazy
that was
game.
fun.
Game of the year for sure.
Speaking of game of the year, did Cowboys Commanders live up to the game of the year hype that we had on it?
No. Who had game of the year hype?
Well, I mean, we talked about how it's going to be like over 60
Bonanza.
points
Yes, that would
scored
be
and stuff
awesome.
like that.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
I think the Cowboys lived up to their side of the bargain. Commanders, unfortunately, didn't because they were so banged up. Obviously, Jayden Daniels was really hurt.
Yep.
Yeah, no Debo, no Terry McLaurin. Really, Zach Ertz was the only guy that did anything in this offense. Every other skill position player, nobody topped 9 fantasy points.
Yeah.
Bill Krosky-Merritt, none of the backup wide receivers. It was only Zach Ertz. So I'm going to kind of leave the Commanders alone, and we can just talk about the Dallas Cowboys.
Sure.
Because they were
Welcome
fun
back.
again. Dak Prescott was awesome. Now having CeeDee Lamb back with him, it looked great. 264, 3 touchdowns, 23.2 fantasy points. CeeDee Lamb, 5 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown, 22 fantasy points. Jake Ferguson found the end zone twice. 7 for 29 yards and 2 touchdowns. Who
Doesn't
cares
matter.
how many yards?
For a tight end, like Jake Ferguson, another top 5 finish as a tight end. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago. He consistently has been in the top 5, all except for, I think, week 1.
It was unbelievable for him. And if you can give any tight, if you say, I'll give your tight end 7 catches today, I'll say, I will take it.
Every day of the week?
Give me it. Every single week, I will take 7 catches.
No doubt, yeah.
Javonte Williams had 20 touches, 118 yards, and a touchdown for 18.8. George Pickens was the only guy that left out, had a huge catch at the end of the game, but it didn't count for as much for us in fantasy, unfortunately. 4 for 82, 12.2 fantasy points. This whole Cowboys offense was just rolling with CeeDee Lamb back. It feels like they're going to keep doing this, man.
No doubt. This is going to be the formula.
What slows them down?
Most weeks, they are not going to play an offense as in shambles as the Commanders were yesterday. Only note on the Commanders side is Bill Krosky-Merritt, we'll talk about more this week, probably falling into that needs to score a touchdown. Bill Krosky-Merritt, J.K. Dobbins, Derrick Henry on the sort of the top end of that. Quinshon Judkins, those type of guys, as he has 7 catches in 7 games, does Bill Krosky-Merritt. The Cowboys passing offense was great yesterday, but not quite as great as their NFC East counterpart, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, my gosh.
As a Giant was awoken yesterday in Minnesota as Jalen Hurts balled the heck out. A.J. Brown balled the heck out. Devontae Smith balled the heck out as well. So Hurts has 3 passing touchdowns yesterday, just a mammoth fantasy game for him.
Unbelievable.
24.04 fantasy points with 3 passing touchdowns and 326 yards through the air. Mike pointed this out. I believe this was the lowest or the second fewest rushing yards for Jalen Hurts in a game ever.
Really?
Negative rushing yards yesterday for Jalen Hurts. So for him to get 24 plus fantasy points in a game in which he doesn't run is incredibly consequential. A.J. Brown had a monster game as well yesterday with 2 receiving touchdowns. They were very much in lockstep. 4 for 121 and 2 touchdowns, 28.1 fantasy points. But his teammate, Devontae Smith, Slim Reaper, was even better. He had a big vertical shot touchdown.
It was beautiful. Wasn't that his furthest touchdown, longest
probably
touchdown
this season
for
at least.
Devontae Smith?
Maybe. Yeah, 9 for 183 and a touchdown for Devontae Smith, 33.3 fantasy points. Eagles were amazing. It was throwback, vintage, the kind of stuff that maybe thinks this team is ready for. Yes,
I'll mention that.
We'll talk about here.
I'll talk about it
more. Yes.
I mentioned this coming into the week, though, Field, that the Minnesota Vikings had only allowed 2 wide receivers to score over 9 fantasy points. And the Philadelphia Eagles were like, yeah, that's not going to be us this year. We got this. All right. Come on.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable.
Yesterday was like a reminder. The Eagles are still the Eagles. Just as an aside, did you guys see what the Vikings did to slow down the tush push?
Yes, they put a guy sideways, almost laying down in front of the center.
Took a rookie, Tyler Beatty, who out of BYU, they just took him, and as Daniel said, they laid him horizontal, basically from the guard across the center, across the other guard.
Yes.
So there was a battering ram
rather than
there,
be this
just
way,
waiting.
he's lined up this way. It's crazy.
I think I heard on the Fox broadcast
Yeah.
he hasn't played at all this year. So Brian Flores, the mastermind defensive coordinator for the Vikings, drew that one up, and I got to wonder if every week now there's going to be, I hate to call him a sacrificial lamb, but it's kind of an unfortunate
Did it
job.
work?
Yeah. Yeah, it worked.
But is the guy ever going to play football again? Did he get crushed?
Yeah, he came out fine. Yes.
He's okay.
But honestly, I wonder if people will start to do this. Again, I am of the belief that the tush push will be gone after this season. That being said, until it is, we may have a little bit of an antidote.
We may have found a little bit. Yeah.
Any other takeaways for you?
No.
Okay.
I mean, other than this is reminding me, if you watch other teams attempt the tush push, you're reminded once again that the only team that can really successfully execute it is the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's
And
right.
It's not even close.
I'm done with my takeaways, Field. I think you got one more, and then we got some studs and duds.
It's the Ramondre Stevenson show, and don't bother arguing anyway.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Ramondre was good yesterday. You know what, though, Daniel?
I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing with you. I was just stating I don't like it.
I don't have an argument against it anymore. Because I just don't. Ramondre was good yesterday. He did not fumble the ball. That's good. He rushed efficiently. He had a touchdown on the ground.
Though, Field.
Travion Henderson, I'm sorry to say this, is the biggest bust in fantasy football this year.
Yeah, after where he was drafted because of that late season surge. Late draft season surge.
He doesn't even play. He doesn't even play, guys. He does not play. He had 3 plays yesterday.
Yep.
3 snaps. Now, is it going to be every week where until the game got out of hand, they put their third string practice squad elevator running back in the game? But Ramondre
You mean
Stevenson,
Travion Henderson?
No, not even. Yeah, he's like 4th string.
Are you
now.
dropping him?
This
This is so hard, right? Because I have him in a couple leagues. You're like, could turn again. So it's the worst. He's taken up a roster
but
spot,
there's no
and you're
argument.
not comfortable.
And we've got
on bench.
6 teams on a bye next week. 6.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna be ugly.
It's the Ramondre Stevenson show.
Armageddon
And
even.
there is no arguing otherwise.
Nope.
Ramondre, and Ramondre's kind of on that top, sort of that 20 to 25-ish radar for running backs right now, and Stevenson is Henderson, is on the bench.
Yeah, doesn't feel good.
So much going well for the Patriots right now, and this
honestly
class
it is
promising. And Drake May is a friggin' stud.
He's looking great.
Why don't we just start there? He is one of my studs for the week.
Mine too.
Drake May, because how can he not be? I mean, he's just been incredible, and it's also just watch him. Watch him play. Watch how his ball placement, watch his decision making. And by the way, he runs and he's managing to score you fantasy points consistently every week.
Yep. 21 of 23.
Guys,
91% completion percentage. Unbelievable.
That's not
anytime there is a record for a Patriots quarterback, you have to take it very seriously because
Seriously.
there's a guy named Tom Brady who played there for 20 seasons.
I heard that yesterday.
But regular season only, because I was corrected by a lot of Patriots fans, which I'm like, just be proud, be happy. Your quarterback's amazing.
Yes.
But Drake May became the first quarterback in Patriots history in the regular season to complete 90-plus passes. The threshold here is 20 attempts. I'm sure there's been somebody who attempted 1 pass and it was completed like a running back on a halfback pass.
So they're 100%.
But Drake is dialed in right now, and the Patriots in recent weeks have taken advantage of a more favorable schedule, but they also beat the Buffalo Bills. This team looks for real. They play the Browns next week.
Also, Drake May's doing this without like a huge cast around him. Stephon Diggs and Hunter Henry and like that cast of, and I don't want to take a shot at him, but like he's doing really well without like a bunch in his cupboard right now.
You know what he is? He is the tide that elevates all boats.
Yeah.
He really
good,
is.
man.
People are playing well around him. They're very in sync. And that to me is almost what makes him more of a stud is because he's elevating play all around him.
He's also like, he's like the sweetest kid you'll ever see. Like he goes to his press conferences and they're like, Drake, like it turns out you're in the same company as Tom Brady with this record. He's like, golly, man, I'll tell you what now. That's some big praise.
I think he just married the girl he's been dating since 8th grade.
Oh, my God.
It is everything about him is like storybook, right?
That's
I'm from
amazing.
Massachusetts, as you guys obviously know.
As
Stephania
we do.
born there as well. He was at the big high school football game on Friday night, which sadly, not a huge football state. We are not. But Severian, which is probably the best football program in the state, where the Hasselbeck brothers went, Brian St. Pierre, who played at Boston College and then played in the NFL for a while. It's the closest to a football factory we have in the state. And Drake May just shows up there. We're off. This is not important to fantasy football. Other than to say he's awesome, both on the field and off.
I love that. Well, you love in the NFL, it's great to be able to root for good people that you want to be excited about rooting for. So
He's a stud
love
for
Drake
sure.
May.
Yep.
Another guy that's a stud, Keenan Allen. Just don't go away.
He's on my list too.
Monster game. 14 targets, 11 catches, 119 yards, and a touchdown for 28.9 fantasy points. It helped the Chargers were game scripted into 55 pass attempts for Justin Herbert.
Yes, that definitely helps. Yeah,
That definitely
But
helps.
still, Mr. Third Down himself, as Khalil Mack called him when he came to join the Chargers. Remember, it's like there was no room for him in Chicago, and I was like, he's going to be just fine at the Chargers. There will be a role for him, and clearly, especially on a day like yesterday, there was.
Yeah, that was it. Also a tough one. Can we just really quickly talk? I wanted to have a stronger takeaway about Kamani Vidal. But with the way that game kind of played out, he was sort of game scripted out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He didn't have like a big role because of that. I don't think that is a negative.
Thursday night. I don't think Minnesota is going to move the football like
The same way.
the Colts did. So
Correct.
maybe this game's a little bit tighter there.
Yep.
Another stud for me, Chris Olave had 2 touchdowns
on my
yesterday for the Saints. He was awesome. And Olave has just been like quietly pretty good this year. A PPR fiend, as we have talked about many, many, many times. But just a monster day for him. It was like a quasi junk time game, right? Like they were down by multiple scores, but it got close for a minute there. It was like 20-0. Next thing you know, it's 20-14. Then the Bears are up 12, but it doesn't matter. Like they won. They took care of business.
Saints aren't good, but Chris Olave is.
And he's an interesting one. I mean, he would probably be on the short list for most potentially fantasy relevant players that could be dealt. We have now, I think, 2 more weeks from tomorrow in terms of the trade deadline. But yes, Chris Olave has been very, very good and very, very interesting if he is dealt.
I will be the voice of the kickers because you all know there's no shame in my game. I am proud about drafting Brandon Aubrey before the last round.
Awesome.
I know Mike Clay will disagree with me until the end of time, but Brandon Aubrey, I guarantee you people who have him on their roster, he has saved you a couple times. He's won you your matches a couple of times. Most 60-yard field goals in NFL history, hit a 61-yarder this week. I'm just going to make my case that he's not the only one. Like you got to Chase McLaughlin at Tampa, but you get a good kicker on a powerful offense, and I'm telling you, they are a difference maker.
I think guys from the UFL just turn out to be really good.
Yeah, baby.
Jake Bates and Brandon Aubrey both have been unbelievable. Shout out to my UFL days. How about Jordan Addison? Jordan Addison looked great today, or yesterday, excuse me. Vikings playing catch up in this one, but 12 targets, 9 catches for 128 yards, 21.8 fantasy points. Their target distribution was like really centered. It was Jordan Addison, it was Justin Jefferson, and TJ Hawkinson. And that was basically it for the Minnesota Vikings. It kind of feels like I don't feel great about this Vikings passing game, but if you need to start Jordan Addison and when these bye weeks come and hit you, I'm very fine to have him as a flex option for your fantasy squad. He absolutely dominated this last week.
Trey McBride had his first multi-touchdown game in his career. How about this? Trey McBride now has more receiving touchdowns from Jacoby Brissett than he does Kyler Murray.
That's
Chew on that one for a second.
awful.
Think about it.
In all of his time with Kyler Murray.
Yes.
Because, of course, last year, the story was that Trey McBride never saw the end zone. Was it the final week of the season or close to then? So, Trey McBride, just in this short couple of weeks, has outdone all of his time
We've
with
got a
Kyler Murray.
Kyler conversation at some points coming our way. They go on a bye this week. Kyler expected back after that. Let's get some duds.
Let's dive in some duds. We can be quick about this one.
Yeah, we
Ja'Cory
talked about a lot of
Merritt
them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and we already talked about Ja'Cory Merritt. Unfortunately, trailing all game. McNicholas is kind of the pass catching back there. Tough dud. Needs to get more involved in the passing game.
Yep, Trayvon Henderson doesn't play anymore. He is a dud. Alvin Kamara, what do you do here? The volume is okay, but the passing game utilization has really dropped off.
Is he on
Can
the
I tell you
trade?
about that?
Is he a trade target too?
Let me tell you.
I believe, if the right price came
Yeah,
their way.
because to
He
me,
says-
that's another reason to hang on to him because I think it's a mess.
He says he wants to be in New Orleans, and they're going to honor
He's been
that.
saying that a bunch.
Yeah.
If someone says, here's a third-round pick for a guy who's declining, I think I would take that.
I want to give you just a little bit of context. 2017 through 2024, right?
Okay.
This is Alvin Kamara from a passing game perspective. He averaged 6.4 targets per game, 5 catches per game, and 41 receiving yards per game.
Give it to me now.
2025, he's averaging 4.1 targets, so 2 targets less per game.
Not good.
He's averaging 3.5 receptions, so 1.5 catches less, and 17.5 yards per game, from 41 down to 17.5. He's not getting utilized as a pass catcher the way that he was.
And he does not score touchdowns. They're not a very good offense on top of that.
Right.
When they get to the goal line, he is threatened by, if he's healthy, Kendre Miller, and now Taysom Hill.
Yep.
So, disaster. Yeah.
Roma Dunze, back-to-back duds, unfortunately, coming out of bye weeks. I do still believe better days are ahead. We've seen a lot of good from the Chicago Bears, but yeah, we're going to hold on him.
Saquon.
Worst fantasy outing of the season. He has not had a day this bad since week 16, 2021. That's how bad this week, week 7 was for Saquon Barkley.
And by the way, there little injury scare briefly. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I was like, I also it looked like he was favoring his knee at one point. He got like his knee tangled. So just something watch with the practice reports. We don't want to see anything there, but
absolutely not.
The only thing that I'll note is I thought about when he signed with the Eagles last year, and it was, hey, even if the receiving volume basically falls off a cliff because the Eagles don't really throw to the running backs with Jalen Hurts, who cares because the rushing efficiency will be
Their O-line is so good. He'll make up with it in the touchdown department.
This is the other side of that coin, is when the rushing efficiency is so bad, which it now is so bad, all of a sudden Saquon's value is much, much different. Let's get to Monday Night Football.
Running backs with at least 50 carries. The 2 worst running backs in yards per carry this year
Saquon?
are Zach Charbonnet and Saquon Barkley.
He does not want to be in that company.
No,
Boy,
you don't.
Unfortunately, yeah, he is running back 18 right now in fantasy points
Daniel,
per game. Let's dive
who's
into
playing?
Bucks and the Lions Monday Night Football. We're going to start with this one. We got 2 games here. Stephania, can I ask you first and foremost for an injury update on these Bucks wide receivers?
Yeah, this is my, we do the what to watch for. My what to watch for is watch for who's starting tonight because we've got Mike Evans in his expected return. Obviously, he's been out. I expect him to play. But how does he look after missing time due to this hamstring injury? Obviously, he's no stranger to them. He came back last year and was incredibly productive, went on to finish out that 1,000-yard season. I think he has to average 78 yards a game going forward to hit that 1,000-yard target, which would have him break Jerry Rice's record, which Jerry Rice supports, by the way, I'll have you know. But I think they're expecting good things from Mike Evans tonight because the Emeka Egbuka thing is interesting to me. Injured his hamstring last week, didn't practice until late, on Saturday, got a little bit of work in. And I think that the question mark on him, we were hearing like he has a legit chance to play, but I don't know. I got to think, if you're Tampa Bay, you have to flash back to the guy that's going to start opposite him and in Mike Evans and go, last year we started him coming off a hamstring issue and it got worse and he pulled up and then he missed multiple games. Why would be the question. If there's any question at all, and if he can't go 100%, the only scenario I see where it's like maybe they can kind of compromise is if they use him in sort of these relatively short yardage situations where he can't break away and sprint.
Sure. I think just for the safety of these wide receivers, they should all sit tonight.
Okay.
As a Lions fan, I might be a little biased.
Because you're missing your 2 safeties and your top 2 corners.
Both of our corners and our top 2 safeties. And it's my buddy Kurt. So Field and I are in a group chat with a bunch of people from Michigan. And our friends Kurt and Chooch are going down to the game tonight. Kurt let me know they actually have a booth in which you can go to sign up to potentially play cornerback.
Wow.
Because Kurt is 6'4", that he thinks he has a little bit of a heads up on some of the other guys. Because Mike Evans is a big guy. They need someone back there. Very seriously.
Kurt is 6'4".
Kurt's 6'4", yeah. He's a big guy.
Big guy.
I do wonder, Baker Mayfield, even if he only has Mike Evans, he's still a very easy start. Do you think he gets to 300 passing yards in this game?
Certainly wouldn't surprise me.
I think he can do. He doesn't need guys to be able to do it. That's another thing that I am watching, Stephania, is just being able to figure out who goes from this Buccaneers wide receiving core. And I've got a couple of shares of Jahmyr Gibbs in a handful of leagues that I need some big games in tonight. So that's another one that I'm watching because the Bucs have been pretty good against the running back so far.
Plenty of a Monday night miracle potential in play here. You guys have covered all the ground on this game, so I'm going to turn the page to the Texans and the Seahawks. This is two frustrating backfields, I think we can agree. Does anybody shine from them? You know, in Seattle, we all want to make Kenneth Walker III the guy, and there's been some suggestions they might give him the football more. Not enough suggestion that we're confident that he's going to go in there tonight and dominate carries and get you 15-plus fantasy points. We are hopeful, but not necessarily guaranteeing or expecting it. And for the Texans, it's not a whole lot better, right? Nick Chubb probably is going to lead the way in carries tonight, but just a couple of weeks ago, Woody Marks was the waiver wire darling. So I don't know that any running back in this game is my preferred player to start, but when you've got 2 out of the 30 teams that are actually playing this week and it's a running back wasteland all over the NFL, once again, you're probably going to have some people relying on Nick Chubb or Ken Walker III for 12 or 14
I will say,
fantasy
we thought
points
the
to win their matchup.
Steelers-Bengals was going to be like a flat, game, and that ended up being really exciting. So I am hoping for similar things here because it doesn't particularly excite me, this matchup. And I'm hoping that we get surprised, that we see like Jackson Smith and Jigba go to town. You know, that fantasy
Nico
manager
Collins.
love him. All of a sudden, Nico Collins and CJ Stroud light it up.
I'm excited about
Something.
that.
Last Monday night doubleheader of the year.
Is it really?
It is, yep.
All right, do me a quick favor. If you're going to pick between the Lions and the Bucs, which team are you going to take?
I am taking the Lions at home.
I am as well. Go ahead, Stephania.
I know.
It's okay.
Yeah, but I'm not. I do take the Lions at home.
All right.
I think ultimately they win.
And Texans or Seahawks, which side are you going to fall on?
I don't want either one, but
I'll go
Seahawks at home.
I was going to take the Seahawks as well.
At home.
Okay.
If this week
like
is anything, it's probably don't expect chalk because there have been some crazy games this past 72 or 100-plus hours, but that's the beauty of the NFL, my friends.
Start Isaac Tesla tonight is what Field is saying. Right?
Yeah.
Not chalk. Not chalk. We want not chalk. That's what you
don't
said.
want chalk. Yes, exactly right.
All right.
Yes.
Let's get a couple of mailbag questions here from our YouTube chat. By the way, shout out to our buddy Eric Moody, who's in there every single day.
Yeah.
Eric, we love you and appreciate you, bud. Thank you for doing that with us. First question here from our YouTube chat comes in from ... Stand by. Jesse wants to know if Emeka Egbuka plays tonight, how do we feel about rolling him out in the flex? I feel really good given how banged up the Lions secondary is. He'd be a top 10 wide receiver for me.
The other thing I would say to Jesse is...
There's not many other options.
Well, right now, so it comes down to, like, at this point, if you still have the opportunity to start Emeka Egbuka, your pivots are limited to other Bucs receivers, anybody who might be available from the Lions, which is pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
I mean, Isaac Tesla is the only other wide receiver.
Texans,
and you're not
like, not
him.
that Christian Kirk is super inspiring, but he's out for this game. So it's
I'd probably go to one of the Bucs pass catchers because, again, with the Lions defense down, I would like a Tez Johnson.
Sterling Shepard,
and just you're
Tez
throwing
Johnson.
a dart, right?
Yep,
You're hoping for the best.
That's for sure.
Yep. All right, let's get another question here from our YouTube chat. Next one comes from a different Jesse. This one says, I have Ferguson and George Kittle. Should I try and trade one, or is it crazy to start both of them?
This one's actually pretty straightforward for me, Jesse, is you should try to trade one if you're weak at a spot. If you if you need a running back and you can get a starting running back or wide receiver.
If you drafted Chase Brown and he's your RB2, then move one of those tight ends or something like that.
As well.
Yeah,
Yes.
agreed.
And which one would you move?
I would be moving,
George Kittle.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you there because Jake Ferguson is consistently in the end zone, top 5 finish every week, like we mentioned earlier. And George Kittle is going to have games like you had last night, where his role is to block and make lanes and protect and not do as much in the department of pass catching.
Yep.
So.
All right, another question here from our YouTube chat. This one comes in from our friend R. Molina, wants to know, is Travion Henderson officially droppable?
If you need the roster spot, yes.
Agreed. If you need
an injury away from him being the Patriots' only running back in the active roster, that would change, obviously.
I want to say this, and it didn't end up happening, and we never, ever root for injuries. Yesterday in the Chiefs game, I watched Kareem Hunt get banged up, and my first thought was, oh, shoot, this is a good reason why I guess I kept Isaiah Pacheco, because he's been so bad. Yeah. If anything happens to Ramondre Stevenson, there is no Antonio Gibson. They're playing practice squad guys behind him. It really would be the Travion Henderson show. What would it look like? I have no idea. Yeah. But in banking on a second-round draft pick with all the talent that kid has that I know that we've seen, I just feel like I can't drop him unless I'm in the thralls of bye weeks and my team is banged up, and then I have to make a tough decision. And if that happens, then yes, you can make that decision. But I don't want to drop him if I don't have to.
I would agree. Yeah. All right.
Sorry, I dropped my pen. Next one. One more question here. One or two. We'll see how many we have. Alex wants to know, who's a more reliable tight end, Dallas Goedert or Juwan Johnson? It's Dallas Goedert right now.
Goedert.
Yeah, no, Johnson had a better day yesterday.
He
did,
5 for 79 for Juwan Johnson, but he had been very quiet the few weeks prior to that. So my lean, Alex, would be towards
and also better offense. I'm going with better offense.
Yes.
Agreed. I would always
the
default
Giants next week, a chance for some revenge in Philly.
Last one here. Last question from our YouTube chat for this Monday. This one comes from David Rivera. Should I be worried about Saquon Barkley?
Saquon Emotional Support Group meets at 10 on Tuesday, David. So we'll see you there.
That's perfect. All right. That's going to do it for us today. Have fun watching Monday Night Football. Today's show was presented by Little Caesars. Don't forget to love each other, be kind to yourself, and have fun watching some Monday Night Football. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
See ya.
You're in the 06